Hey, Stephen Redder here, Phyllis Stokes' son. So I've posted a lot of videos about memories I've had and stories and funny stories and everything else. And enough of you have asked, and it was always kind of Mom's intention as well, that I cook some of recipes. And I really wanted to start with probably it is my all-time favorite of everything that she cooked. It all was delicious, but her Southern Buttermilk Biscuits were the best. So that's the very first one I'm gonna do. Now, I learned at the feet of the master. I watched her. She actually worked with me and talked me through it. So I've watched a couple of different variations of them, and this is probably my favorite. So we're gonna go over that today. If you scroll down a little bit on your way down, you'll see the recipes, all the ingredients and everything else, and some of the instructions right down below. And I'll plan on putting a link down there as well back to Mom's video with the biscuits there, so you can kind of compare the two and see. So we'll do these, and hopefully they turn out great. I make them pretty regularly. And also, you know, on your way down the recipe, don't forget to hit like and don't forget to hit subscribe, all right? So what we have here ingredients-wise is I've got, and my daughter Isabella, by the way, is here. She's filming me right now, and that's why you're seeing the camera move around. So, and if she has any questions that she can think of, she's gonna ask, right?
Correct.
Correct, okay. So what I have here, this is a Dula brand. That's what I'm using, self-rising flour. This is what Mom always used. Self-rising flour. She talked about it in some of her videos as well, that you know, if you have just regular flour, how to make self-rising. Self-rising has salt and has baking powder in it already. She likes to add, though, a heaping teaspoon of baking powder. This Clabber girl here, of baking powder as well. So I got 4 cups of self-rising flour. I've got 1 heaping teaspoon of baking powder. Is gonna go right in there in just a medium-sized mixing bowl here. Okay. Now you're gonna take a whole stick of butter. Salted butter is fine. In fact, salted butter is probably better. It's got 8. If you look on most butter things, they have markings on them and you can cut right through the paper for the tablespoon size. You're gonna go with 6 tablespoons of butter are gonna go in this flour here in a second. Reserve 2 tablespoons for afterwards. We're gonna use that in a little bit to coat the butter. So just take a imagine that, a butter knife. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna just look right here, right along the line. I'm gonna cut the last 2 tablespoons off. Now I've sat this butter out for a while now, so it's a little softer, and I'll tell you why here in a second. So I'm gonna take this out of the paper. Make sure you take the paper off, and I say that from experience. So, because that paper does not taste good. So the butter now is kind of soft. Now obviously I'll wash my hands. So the butter's softer now. What I'm gonna do, now originally what Mom taught me was to take the Crisco and cut it into the flour with Crisco. You can do that, and that's vegetable shortening. But I like to use butter. You just put it in, can you get this? So you just put the butter in the flour, and you just use your hand and just kind of start squeezing it in, and you're cutting it into the flour. Just like that. See, it's starting to kind of come apart. Now the flour, as I squeeze, the flour is getting into the butter, and we want to incorporate the butter. See, it's starting to kind of break up. I'm going to incorporate that into the flour. Now, Mom would also sift her flour. She always had the flour sifter. I always asked her, I always wondered what that thing was, because I thought it was like the coolest thing. Is it a megaphone? Can I yell through it? I mean, what is that? That's what I did when I was a kid. And it had a little thing, so I pretended it was like an old time movie thing, and I do that as I'm yelling through it. And it wasn't till I was like 40 years old, and I finally was like, Mom, what's that? What does that sifter do? And she said, well, what that does is it puts a lot of air, incorporates air into the flour. It makes your flour lighter. It makes the biscuits fluffier. So You can do that. I've seen people where they'll take like a spatula, or not a spatula, but a whisk, and run it through their flour to kind of fluff it up. I guess you could do that too. So I've kind of, you can see, can you get in closer here? So you can see the butter, it's like bigger chunks now. You don't want them that big at all, so you keep just kind of working it in, okay? And just with your hands and work it in to kind of break it down, okay? Just kind of keep working that, because you don't want any of the large chunks of butter. See how that's kind of a large chunk there? You want to keep working that in, but it's breaking down, it's working its way into the flour. That's what I want to just keep doing, and keep working it in and breaking it down, okay? Mom had one video where she did this all in a food processor, and that's why, because you can see how long this is taking. So I'm gonna keep working this in, and why don't we'll come back in a second after I'm done with it. Okay, so I'll talk about the flour. I got the butter all cut in right now. What I'm gonna do right now is I've got a few more things to do, but I'm gonna do is take about a tablespoon of Crisco, just regular old Crisco, and what I've got here is a cast iron pizza skillet. I'm gonna use that to put my biscuits on. You can use a cookie sheet or something like that, but I'm gonna kind of grease it to coat it so the biscuits don't stick, okay? And I'm gonna kind of just put a heavy little layer of Crisco down on here, all right? So see that? So it's fine, and now I don't wanna leave big glops on here or anything else, but I'm gonna set my biscuits on this so that they'll cook nice. And then what I'm gonna do now, I've turned my oven on, and I've preheated it to 450 degrees. What I'm gonna do while I'm finishing out with the rest of this dough, I'm gonna put the pan in and kind of preheat it. Preheat the pan, so that the bottom's already hot when I put it back in the oven, and that way you get the bottom cooked and even. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. If you look here with the flour now, I've got the butter all cut in. You can see the consistency is a little different. You can see the big lumps are gone, but it's not the fine flour. So the butter's all cut in. And what I'm gonna do now, I've got whole buttermilk, okay? And what that buttermilk is a little bit sour, it's a little bit acidic, and it's gonna react with the baking powder and the flour and the self-rising flour. And it's kind of like your classic kids science project with the volcano and the acid and the base kind of come together, and that's kind of what makes a little bit of the fluffiness. But I've got 2 cups of buttermilk that I'm gonna just pour right into the bowl, right? And I'm gonna take my spatula here, and I'm gonna just kind of mix it all together. And I'm gonna just kind of keep working around the edges. And what I don't want is any of the dry flour left. And you can smell that buttermilk. It's a little sour smell to it. And again, you can see some of Mom's old videos where she talks about making buttermilk if you need to. It's basically taking whole milk and mixing sour cream with it to make buttermilk. So we kind of keep working this in. Again, you don't want to see any of the dry flour. Kind of keep working it around. And if you need to, that was 2 cups. If it's too dry, again, just add well, I said I was gonna be a little more precise with the recipes, so I was gonna say use just another smidgen of buttermilk. But we all know how much a smidgen is, right? Don't we? Do you know how much a smidgen is, Bella?
Nope.
It's a little bit more than a whatnot. So if you look here, take a look. So I'm looking at this. I still see a little bit of the dry here, and this is kind of like, this is probably a little drier than I would like, and we'd like to not. Mom always said try not to touch it too much, but I'm actually, I don't know, I'm kind of liking this. So I've got all the dry flour pretty much incorporated, okay? So it kind of looks like bread dough. Well, that's what it is, isn't it? So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this out. I've got a piece of wax paper, and that was a great suggestion Mom had on her video, is keeps the counters from getting dirty, which my wife appreciates. Your mom won't be so mad at me. right, Bella? So
right.
I'll dust this a little bit with the flour to keep it from sticking to the wax paper. And I just basically just turn this dough out, okay? I got a bunch here. I'll just kind of scoop this off of here because we don't want to waste all this goodness, okay? And then I'm gonna just kind of just reach in and dust the top, and just all I want to do is mash it out till it's about a 1/2 inch thick. And just kind of touch the top so it's not sticky, or just dust the top with some flour so it's not sticky. Okay, got some here. Now my kids, my boys, at this point would love pinching around the edge and eating some of this, right? Did you ever do that, Bella?
Of course.
Yeah, so it's pretty tasty. At this point you can kind of try a little bit and see. Oh yeah, so that's gonna be good. So basically nice and even. Can you kind of see the side there, Bella? How's that look? About a 1/2 inch or so, okay? Now, I've got a cup here, and we used to use this one. You remember that one specific cup we used to use, the one that had the little flowers on it? Anyway, find a cup that you like, the size. This is just an IKEA small, drink cup, but it's 3 inches across. Some people like bigger biscuits, some people like smaller. I tend to like the little bit of the smaller ones. They're gonna naturally kind of spread out a little bit when you put them in the pan. But if you get them too big, they just kind of spread out so much and they don't get thick. So I like about 3 inches here. Put a little flour down, a little life hack here. Put a little flour down, kind of dust the top of this. And all you want to do is go around and cut out, give it a little twist, and then shake it out, and then this biscuit kind of comes out. And that's about what you're looking for right there, okay? So I'm gonna go through this. I'm gonna go ahead and take my pan out of the oven now, and I'm gonna put these biscuits on there, and we'll come back and see what that looks like here. But just go around, don't worry about being real pretty. I like to kind of make sure that I get nice round biscuits here, but that's about what they look like, okay? Don't worry if there's a little bit of flour on the top or bottom, because we'll get to that later, okay? I'll be right back. Okay, so we got all the biscuits cut out, put on here. So that recipe, 4 cups of flour, 2 cups of buttermilk, plus all the stuff we added, we were able to get about 15 biscuits out, plus, a couple of a little bit of extra left over here if you wanted to make something like we always used to make, that was the biscuit my youngest son Benjamin liked. We would call it the monster biscuit or whatever. We would kind of glop it all together and it would be a monstrosity. These turned out real nice, real pretty biscuits. Touch them together lightly, whatever, they're gonna kind of expand and grow, and they'll probably be together. I've seen a lot of people pack them into a pan. I like them to, spread out a little bit, but I got them on the pan. It's been preheated. Make sure you use some oven mitts. I'm gonna drop it back in the oven, 450 for 20 minutes, okay? So I'm gonna drop it back in the oven here. Now I'm gonna keep an eye on it, to make sure everything's going right. In the meantime, while that's in there, I'm going to take the leftover 2 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to put it in the microwave, melt it, have it ready, and I'm going to brush it on when the biscuits are ready. So the next thing we'll see, we'll be pulling the biscuits out, brushing our butter on, and then we'll try and see how they are. Okay. Hey, so we're back. It's been 20 minutes. I'm cooking dinner tonight, so I've got some bacon going here. I'm going to make some eggs here in a second. What I'm going to do, it's been 20 minutes. Let's check and see how our biscuits are doing. And I'll pull them out, and you can see, well, they've risen, big and fluffy. You can see kind of on the back here, some of them are browning up a little better than others. But what I'm going to do, kind of help things out a little bit. Also, I'm looking here. You can kind of see on the bottom underneath these biscuits how they're doing. You can see the bottoms are browning up real nice. Okay, I'm going to help the top brown up a little bit. What I'm going to do is, can you really ever have enough butter? That's the question. And the answer to that is no. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to give you the answer. So I'm going to just kind of real quick brush the top of these biscuits. I got a little brush here. This is the 2 tablespoons that we had left over from that stick. Basically a swipe per biscuit. Oh man, those smell nice. And I'm going to just kind of put a swipe on each biscuit. See, 2 tablespoons. See, that should give us about 15 swipes. And that's what we got here, plus a little bit extra. So kind of touch the top here, brown them up. So that's why you really don't need to worry about the extra flour on top. But that butter's gonna soak in the top. It's also gonna kind of help brown them up on the top here. Okay, so I'm gonna put those back in and we'll give them another few more minutes and then we'll see how they look, okay? Okay, so we put the biscuits in for 20 minutes, took them out at the 20-minute point. I brushed the top with butter and then put it back in for another 10 minutes. So some ovens depend, some ovens, my mom's was 20 minutes at 450 and they were good. My oven, it took, so basically after the 20-minute point, just watch. And what you're looking for, let's go ahead and take them out now. Turn the oven off, is nice golden brown biscuits. I'm gonna pull a Gordon Ramsay. My daughter said to do this, so this is glistening, beautiful. So here's a nice hot biscuit, and yeah, they're hot. You can see how fluffy they are. Whew. And I'm gonna go ahead and break them in half. That's hot. With the outside, putting that butter on too, the crust on the outside is a little, makes a little, kind of a crust on it too, which is kind of nice, which I like. But I'm gonna let those actually cool down. Okay, so my tender fingers now have recovered. The biscuits have cooled down a little bit now, so we're gonna crack one open and see what it looks like. So nice and fluffy inside. Here, Bella, why don't you take a try here? See what you think. That's good. And it's got the crispy bottom, like again, so putting the pan in ahead of time and letting it warm up, preheating in the oven, you get that a little bit of that crispy bottom that I like so much because the butter just kind of stops and it just kind of sits there, so that's good. So that's my mom's buttermilk biscuits. Sorry, I'm talking with my mouth full, but I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and let me know how it worked out for you. If you have any questions, let me know and I'll try to answer them for you, okay? And take care.